Hello and welcome to another Microsoft Fabric learning experience. Today we are going to be looking at Data Wrangler, and we're going to make this one a more hands-on experience so that you can be able to actually use this tool for you to do your data analysis and your data exploratory. So Data Wrangler is actually in the data science experience, and we are going to see that here in just a moment. So with that, let's get started. So what is Data Wrangler? So this is a notebook-based tool that provides very immersive interface for data exploratory and analysis, and you can be able to explore a lot of very large quantity of data of very large data sets for very large data sets in that scenario. And then it's a very easy to use tool that provides you grid-like experience. And then you have your dynamic summary stats so that you can be able to tell whether you have complete data, whether you're missing, whether you have duplicates and such. So you have the ability to see those stats, and then you have your built-in visuals to enhance that data summary or dynamic summary stats, so you can easily be able to visualize that without having to go through row by row. And then the other good thing about it is that it has common libraries of data cleaning operations. So that's another piece there that is very easily enhanced, especially when you're using Python, R, or whichever other language that you are very familiar with. Now, data exploratory or Data Wrangler, it's actually part of your more transformation. Once you brought data into your Fabric environment, you have the ability now to explore that data. You have the ability to do the cleansing and what have you, or you can actually still be able to bring data directly into it. So you are not limited to just consuming the data that's already within your data source. But if you are to look at the architecture of Fabric, this is where that environment would actually fall into. Now, to get started with it, it's pretty straightforward. All you need is a Microsoft Fabric subscription. And if you don't have a subscription, you can be able to initiate the 60-day free trial that allows you to be able to get yourself acquainted with Fabric. And then you want to switch into data science experience. That's where you're going to be able to access the Data Wrangler, which we will look at in just a moment. Now, from like everything else, there's always some limitations. So currently from general availability, we only have pandas. So that's from Python code perspective. Spark code is coming. Right at the moment we have it in preview. So you can still be able to use it. But again, it's in preview, so there's always room for improvement. And then from custom code perspective, again, this is also within Python, and you're only able to use your pandas data frames. So that's the only pieces that you can be able to use at the moment. But as this tool matures, it's going to have much more features. So it's always good for you to always check back with within Fabric blogs or Fabric publications, so that you can be able to tell if, or you can be able to see what is coming or what has changed. So with that, let's get into some hands-on and let's see how we can be able to use this tool. All right. So the data that I'm actually going to be using tonight is actually going to be coming from our GitHub. You can be able to get data from any of your data markets or your internal data. As I mentioned, if you already have your data into your Fabric environment in your Lakehouse, you can be able to still bring it into your Data Wrangler and be able to use it. But at the moment, what I'm going to actually use is data that's actually external to our Fabric environment, coming in from our GitHub. And the data set that I'm going to be using is this one here, which is Crime US. So if I go ahead and access that CSV file, and I can view the raw data, this is actually the data that I'm going to be bringing. So I'm going to be interacting with this data here, and I can be able to import it directly into my Data Wrangler and be able to use it. Now, to look at that a little bit, so that's our data source. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into our Fabric environment. As I mentioned, this is coming from data science experience. So that's this experience that we do see here. So if I go into that experience, I have the ability to see notebooks and other things here that I will also be covering as time progresses. And what I'm gonna do is I'll go ahead and open a notebook. and then we're going to just look at some of the features that we do get with the notebook here. So that's where the data would be coming from if it was already in my Fabric environment. So these are some of the languages that you can be able to use. The workspace, this is the environment that you have defined. So there's no environments at the moment, or I can create a new environment. That's my data Wrangler. If I go to it at the moment, I can't do anything with it because I don't have data that I can be able to wrangle, or data that I'm actually utilizing at the moment for me to see what's going on. And you have the ability to interact with it also from Visual Studio perspective. Other features here, the connection, that's pretty self-explanatory. We can be able to also change the notebook name here. So in this case, I can call this one demo, so that it's available for us as demo. And as you can see, my name there has changed. So that's just the interface that we do have initially. So now what I'm going to do is I am gonna start bringing in the data, and the first thing that I'm going to do is bring in the libraries. So I'm gonna bring in Panda, and I am gonna call this as PD. And then I am gonna do a data frame, and in this case my data frame is coming from Panda, and it's going to be me reading a CSV file. Remember, that's a file that we have from the GitHub. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring that file here. So just go get this file and go back to our environment here, and I'm gonna paste that one there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and execute this. So we can run it, or we can run it from here. So we can see that that data is actually being ingested now, and it's a pretty large data set. All right, so it's all but complete. So we should be able to see that in just a moment. That's my logs. Okay, so now that data has been ingested, so I can be able to tell based on that. Now, I can be able now to go look at my data frame, or I can be able to choose if I only want to see a sample set of that data. So in this scenario, I can select my data frame there, and then I say if I want to see the first 5,000 rows, if you want to just get a sample set, random number, last, or whichever one. So this is just easing the process of the data that you're bringing in. So in my scenario, I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to go ahead and bring the entire data set, or the entire data. And it's initiating my data Wrangler. So this is what I was talking about, that it has that grid-like experience. And you can see also the stats, as I was mentioning. We do get the stats that we do have here, and I can go ahead and look at this from different perspective, how my data looks. Those are the visuals that I was talking about, where you can see how your data looks initially. So then on the far right here, I can still be able to get some of the stats. So I can see from my data set perspective, in this case, I'm seeing 5,000 rows. And then I can see that I have some missing values here, the description, the district, and what have you here. So that's part of what we are going to be cleaning there, to make sure that we have a clean data set that we can be able to easily utilize. Then on my right, on my left here, these are some of the operations that you can actually be able to work with. So if I was to look at some here, we have the drop duplicate rows, we have drop missing values, we have fill in missing values. So if you want to replace the values there, you can be able to do that. Data formatting, these are other pieces here that you can be able to do, capitalizing format, string format transformation and such, split text. I'm putting the cat before the horse there. And then we have formulas where we can be able to do one-hot encoding, then also be able to do calculated text lengths. So these are some of those operations that you can be able to work with here, and I'm not going to go through each and every one of them because these ones are available to you, so you have the ability to look at those. Now after that, bottom left here, I have the ability to see the steps that have already happened. So this keeps track of any changes that I'm performing, and I can be able to roll those ones back. We'll look at that here in just a moment. And then if you have custom code, you can actually be able to add it here as well. So just for testing purposes, or just for us to be able to see how this one looks, I'm gonna go ahead and drop any missing values. So I'm gonna go ahead and select that. So that takes come on, that's Copilot. That takes me to the operation for drop missing values, which is what we see there. Then I can go ahead and pick the columns that I want to cleanse. So we know from our far right here that we are missing some values from X coordinate, Y coordinate, lat, long, and location. So in my scenario here, I'm just going to focus on those because the rest of them will be pretty much tied to it, other than possibly the location. And as you can see, as soon as I select those two, it goes ahead and generates the data frame code for me here on what I want to do, with also description, so that any person that's utilizing this workbook can be able to easily see that. And then now if you look at my data set here, missing zero, and that has also disappeared from my right hand side here. So I can go ahead and collapse this, and I can go ahead and apply. Let's go back to the operations, and I can apply. There's two ways that you can be able to apply this. So the other one will be at the very bottom of this. So this is what I was mentioning from cleansing perspective. I can be able to see what has happened, and I can be able to actually delete that step if I need to. So I'm gonna go back to the new operations, and we can do the same thing, or we can actually come here and type our own code. So here it does allow us to be able to pick the operations once again, but in this case, instead of picking the operation, I'm just gonna go ahead and start typing. So, and I'm gonna do my data frame, because my data frame dot this is going to be drop NA, and what we're going to take out is the district that's out there. So we're gonna go ahead and do our subset of data, and what we want here is the district. Okay, so as soon as I click, the operation is previewing my data and determining if I can be able to remove that. Going through that, and you notice that also from the naming convention perspective, it does set that as a custom operation. So that's one of the things that it does allow you to be able to see what's really going on there. And let's just wait for this to complete. All right, so now we have that, and I'm gonna go ahead and do apply. And it's committing that for me. So we can see here we have our custom operation. We have our the one that we use from the operation perspective. So just rolling them back here does allow me to be able to roll back that data set as well. Now, from the experience perspective, this is also worth mentioning here. So if you are missing any of this, and my data shape there, is because there is a number of rows that I am bringing. It's just giving me a warning that it could be truncated. So if you're missing any of these windows here, they are under views. So you have the ability to turn them off if you want to turn them off, so that you don't have to see them. Whichever one that, if you want much more real estate. So with that, now I have performed my data wrangling process. As I mentioned, it's pretty straightforward. I can be able to filter out. I can be able to go ahead and sort if I need to sort my data set here, and I can go ahead and sort by date. It's gonna go ahead and that's apply there. So now I am ready to go ahead and utilize this data. So I can go ahead and save this one here. So it's going to actually apply those once I exit out of data wrangler. I can be able to now to apply the same steps here, and I can go ahead and also copy this this output here into a clipboard and then utilize it if I want to utilize it outside the data wrangler. So that's the other piece there I can be able to do, and you'll see once we exit out of it, it will actually download that file for us. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and add this code to our notebook, and that's important there. And you can see here this is our all the steps that were actually performed. So I can go ahead and run this, and you can see here I'm gonna get a sample set of my data. So it kind of shows me there. But if I wanted to come and see the entire data set, I can come here and I do df, and I want to see the clean, and I can go ahead and run that. So again, it's gonna run my my code there, so that I can be able to get much more data set here. And again, you can see that I have the ability to now continue working with my data set here, that now is clean, and if I wanted to produce visuals out of it, I can be able to do that. Anything that I want to do with my data set now, it's very much available for me to be able to do whatever I want to do with it. So that's what we have from data Wrangler perspective. I'm hoping that this one here is very helpful, and that you can actually be able to jump out there and be able to utilize it, and be able to learn something that's worthwhile. Thank you so much, and enjoy some data Wrangling processes. Thank you.